Today is Thursday, April the 25th, and to say that I was not happy with the market today would be an understatement. The S&P, better off just looking at the 1 hour, and you can see that since we had this pop out of the channel that we were following, which was consistent all last week, now we've fallen into another channel. The market is now back to over the prior high, but below its most recent high. So we did manage to get back over that 29.29 line, but we did lose 1 point in the S&P. Decliners led advancers, 58 to 37%. And as we said, the oscillator started off just slightly down or unchanged from Tuesday. So this is Wednesday's results in the oscillator. So today we're going to see another move slightly down towards the towards this area here. We're going to continue to churn around. Apple, this was my reason for disappointment. My 200 short puts for next week. I really didn't want to sell them this early, but I wanted to take the profits that I had out of this week's short puts. There was nothing left in them. I was able to buy them back for 30 cents and 17 cents respectively. So I rolled them into next week, and the volatility next week keeps going up, of course, because earnings is Tuesday night. So I'm seeing my short puts now in a negative position, but that's okay because I will buy Apple under $200 because I've made, with all the profits I've made on my short puts, it would give me a cost of about $180. So if I got put to me next week at 200, I would be okay with that. I don't see Apple going much further than below 200 if they have mediocre earnings. I think they're going to have good earnings. I just don't think they're going to have blow out of the water stellar earnings. Gold continues to drop. Big drop for Intel. Now we said that we had this, they had good earnings tonight at least, so I don't know what they are after market, but they did report earnings that were in line with estimates. I suspect that's not going to be good enough for the market, and we're going to see Intel probably drop tomorrow, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it fill this gap and get support at 56.74. And if it does, it might be an opportunity to look at it again. WDC doing nothing. I mean, it has earnings next week. Whirlpool, which we've been tracking, had a miserable day. And I did more digging around in the chart. Now remember, we are looking at a trend line that started here in July. It made its second point in February and its third point yesterday. This is a weekly chart, by the way. And we hit the top of the weekly cloud at the same time as we hit this trend line. So that's just a remarkable coincidence that came into play. So I went back and I looked at a little bit more of the history. Let's take the Ichimoku out of the chart for right now. And let's look at this high back in 2015 and this low. And we have made exactly right here in February, we hit the 38.2% and dropped. So that is going to be, not only is this trend line going to be a problem, but the 38.2 is going to be a problem. So before we step back into Whirlpool, or we step into Whirlpool, I mean, I've held it before, so before we step into Whirlpool, we're going to wait probably a little bit longer now to get a good signal. Now, if we get down to the 200 moving average, and I'm going to set another alert here, and I'm going to say create an alert for Whirlpool where the price touches the 200-day. I'm going to start with the 50. The 50 EMA is what it's on now. So no, I'm going to go down to the 200. If we can get support on the 200, which is right here, and a bounce. Let's look at the daily. So here's the 200. If we get support on the 200, that might be an opportunity to buy and put a $1 trailing stop on things. I put it on the wrong, I put it on the SMA. So let's go back up here and let's put that alert on the EMA 200. Could have swore that I clicked that. There we go. Amazon had blowout earnings tonight, and you can see that it is up after hours. Where's Intel? Intel's continuing to, apparently is continuing to drop after hours with its earnings, so that's not a surprise. So we'll see you tomorrow. Holding tight on things. I did still keep my short 140 calls for Caterpillar for next week because they have an opportunity to bring in some reasonable coin. But if Caterpillar moves up tomorrow, I might take those calls off and look at what other calls I could put on for next week and just take the profits that I have in them this week, which looks like about, I've got more, I've got about 60% profit in those calls.